How's it going, everyone? James Lynch here for OddsChecker US, doing my breakdown of Saturday night's main event at UFC Vegas 7, which features Pedro Munhoz taking on former lightweight champion Frankie Edgar. Now, Edgar's going to be making his bantamweight debut for this fight, and this was rescheduled. Munhoz had COVID-19, so they had to move the fight a few months later to this Saturday as to why the fight was rebooked. But now it's a 5-round fight instead of a 3-round fight, so let's get into it right now. Pedro Munhoz has been sort of a dark horse in the bantamweight division. He is coming off a loss in his last fight to Aljamain Sterling, but you look at some of the wins that he's had in that weight class. Cody Garbrandt knocked him out, the former bantamweight champion. Also has a submission win over Rob Font, who's a highly ranked bantamweight. He is a guy that is very dangerous in this division and has some really notable wins, but like I said, he is coming off a loss in this fight and has a bit of a layoff. He hasn't not fought since June of 2019 due to injury and also due to this COVID thing like I mentioned. So really interesting to see how Pedro Munhoz looks in this fight as he takes on the former champion in Frankie Edgar. Now, Frankie Edgar, coming off a loss himself, he took a short notice fight against the Korean Zombie late last year, ended up getting finished in that fight, but now he goes down to the bantamweight division for the first time in his career, and we'll see how he looks, because I think this is a weight class that Frankie Edgar should have been at maybe the majority of his career. He was not a big lightweight, and he was not a big featherweight either, so for him to go down 2 weight classes, we'll see what happens. Typically, looking at the data, when you see fighters that get a bit up there in age, get a little bit older, and they move down a weight class, they tend not to fare very, very well. However, with someone like Edgar, I think this is the right weight class for him, and it's not a drastic cut from what we've seen in terms of his physique and everything else. So should be very interesting. Obviously, on paper, Frankie Edgar, if we're looking at the prime Frankie Edgar, is the better fighter. I mean, he's won a UFC title. He has some pretty notable wins, but Munhoz has been a mainstay at bantamweight, like I mentioned. So, is it going to be a case of Frankie losing a step in this fight? How's he going to look down a weight class? We really don't have those answers, but what we do know is that Frankie Edgar is getting older, and he has been finished in 2 of his last 3 fights. Now, Max Holloway fought him last year, was not able to finish him, so I think this idea that Frankie's completely shot, I don't necessarily believe that, and I don't think this fight will end inside the distance. I think Pedro Munhoz is going to end up winning this fight. I think the fact that he's been a regular bantamweight, the fact that he went the distance with the guy in Aljamain Sterling in his last fight, who in my opinion is one of the top bantamweights in the division, I think that speaks volumes to his talent level, and I think Munhoz will be the faster fighter, will use his striking a little bit better, and I think he'll end up winning a decision in this fight over Frankie Edgar, which is interesting because if you guys look at the prop bet for that, Munhoz is actually plus money by decision in this fight. So we'll see what happens. Could Edgar go out there and look amazing and have an incredible performance similar to when Jose Aldo moved down to bantamweight last year and had that fight with Marlon Moraes? Yes, we could potentially see that, but I think you got to go with the fighter that's been more tested in that weight class in Pedro Munhoz, and that's why he's the betting favorite, and that's why I am picking him in this fight. So I expect this to be a tough fight. I don't think it's going to be like a one-sided beatdown. I just see Pedro Munhoz being a little bit faster, a little bit more sharper. The younger fighter, again, comes from a really good camp as well at American Top Team. I think he will look good in this fight and get the victory here on Saturday night. So I want to know what you guys think of this fight below. Who are you picking? How do you see the fight unfolding? Leave us a comment here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button here on OddsChecker US, and make sure you follow me on Twitter at Lynch on Sports. My DMs are open. If you got any thoughts on this fight, or you want to tweet me, by all means, let me know, and let me know what you think of this fight. Follow me on Twitter, like I mentioned, at Lynch on Sports, and I hope you guys enjoy the fights on Saturday, which go down at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas.